Hello, student. Welcome to this topic. Optical telescopes. And this optical telescope is an optical instrument employed or used to observe very large objects situated at a very large distance, such as stars, comets, planets, and others. So it is such an instrument called as the optical telescope, and this optical telescope is used to observe the large objects which are situated at a very large distance. Over the years, telescopes have been developed into various designs by various workers for various purposes. So each one has its own merits and demerits, and a brief classification, of the telescopes is as follows. And telescopes, they are broadly divided into two groups. One is one type is called as the refracting telescopes, and the other one is called as the reflecting telescopes. Uh, as the name indicates, the refracting telescopes uses a lens, a convex lens as its objective, as its object, and the light from the distant object will pass through the lens, and it undergoes the refraction phenomena, and hence they are called as the refracting telescopes. But in case of reflecting telescopes, the objective is an concave mirror. So as you know, mirror is reflecting the light. It is not refracting the light, because a mirror do not allows the light to pass through. So therefore, this kind of telescopes are called as the reflecting telescopes. These telescopes uses a concave mirror as its objective. So this is the broad classification of the telescopes, and the sub classification is as follows. And these refracting telescopes are further divided into four categories. One is the astronomical telescope, where the image is an inverted image, and the Galilean type, the image is an erected one, and terrestrial telescope, the image is again erected one, and the prismatic telescope, the image is again an erected one. So these are the four types of refracting telescopes. In case of reflecting telescopes, there are also four types comes. One is the prime focus type, another one is the Newtonian design, and next one is the Cassegrain design, and the fourth one is the Cowde's design. So there are the four types of reflecting telescopes. And now we will see the refracting telescope, how it is constructed and how it works. So the important parts of a refracting telescope are an achromatic objective of a large focal length and aperture, which forms a real, inverted, and diminished image of a distant object in its focal plane is used. So it is a objective is an achromatic objective. That means chromatic aberration is removed here somehow. So that kind of lens or object is called as achromatic objective, and it is having a very large focal length. Focal length means when the light after refracting through the lens converge at one point, then the distance between that converging point and the center of the lens is called as the focal length. And aperture of the lens is also taken bigger, so which forms a real and inverted and diminished image at the focal plane. Focal plane means it is a plane which is kept at the focal point of a lens. Next, the second major important point of this refracting telescope is a convergent eyepiece mounted coaxially with the objective and having its first focal plane coincident with the second focal plane of the objective, uh, plane of the objective. Here I will show you the diagram. This is the construction diagram of an refracting telescope. So these are the parallel rays, set of parallel rays coming from the distant object. Distant object can be a star. And this is the object to a convex lens, a huge convex lens used here. And these rays after passing through this convex lens, they converge at this point. So therefore the distance between this point and the center of the lens is the focal length f naught, focal length of this objective. And here an eyepiece is placed, and then the distance between this image formed and the eyepiece is such that this distance is equal to the focal length of this eyepiece. In that way it is placed. So therefore this much of distance is the focal length of the object of the eyepiece, whereas this much of distance is the focal length of the objective. Here image is formed. So FE is actually focal plane for the eyepiece. So focal plane means you think that you have placed a plane here. So the vertically perpendicular to the rays, like a screen. So that is called as the focal plane. So FE is the focal plane for the eyepiece, and F naught here and on this side, F naught is the focal plane for the objective. So this is the construction, and you are looking here. So the eyepiece thus acts as a magnifier to view the real image formed by the objective. The final image is at infinity. Uh, it is uh, it is clearly seen that the distance between the objective and the eyepiece is the sum of the focal lengths of the two. So the distance between this objective and this eyepiece is the sum of the focal lengths of these two. So this is the focal length of the objective, and this to this is the focal length of the eyepiece. So the sum of these two is the distance between the objective and the focal length. So here what happens, parallel rays from a distant object or incident on the achromatic doublet objective after refraction through the long focus objective, a real inverted image is formed at Q, which is the common focal point of the objective f naught and the eyepiece Fe. You can see the diagram. These are the parallel rays coming from the distant object like star, and they are falling on this objective lens, and they undergo the refraction phenomena. Refraction phenomena is the deviation in the path of the ray. So all these refracted rays are converging at this point. So therefore this is the focal point of the objective, and a image is formed at this place. So this acts as a object for the eyepiece, and a virtual image is formed at infinity. So what happens? The refracted rays from the object to form an image here, inverted image at the point Q, and this inverted image now acts as an object for this eyepiece. So the rays which are emitted or which are reflected by this image are next moving towards this eyepiece, and they reach the eyepiece and they undergo refraction phenomena, and after emerging from this eyepiece a set of parallel rays are coming in this way, and you are watching this set of parallel rays here, you are seeing through this eyepiece, and what you will feel that the image is formed at infinity, because just you, these are the straight lines, just you, so when you look at these straight lines, image is seen, and image is seen in such a way that it is at infinite distance. So here somewhere here image is formed, so image is formed in such a way that it is at a very huge distance. So this acts as the object for the eyepiece, and a virtual image is formed at infinity. If, however, the eyepiece is moved to a position where the real image lies just inside the primary focal plane of the eyepiece, a magnified virtual image at Q dash may be seen by the eye at a distance of most distant vision. So here what happens? Suppose this eyepiece is moved to this position where a real image is formed, then what happens? And if a person is observed through the eyepiece, what you will feel that another image, another virtual image, you will feel that a virtual image is formed here at when the point Q dash. So a virtual image is seen here at this position. Then the angular magnification m of the telescope is given by capital M is equal to theta e divided by theta naught, where this theta naught and theta e are the angles subtended by the object and the image as shown in the figure. So these are the lines here. These angles are subtended by the set of rays. You can see here. This is the theta naught. Actually, this is the angle uh, formed with horizontal line, hmm, which are those which rays are refracted from the objective. They make they subtend an angle theta naught here. Similarly, the rays which are emerging from the eyepiece make an angle theta e, so are subtend an angle theta e with the horizontal. So these are the two angles and subtended by the rays of light, and the ratio of these two, theta e divided by theta naught, it gives the angular magnification of the eyepiece. So where theta naught and theta e are the angles subtended by the object and the image lines as shown in the figure. So from the optics theory of optics, we have seen that for paraxial rays, theta naught is equal to FEQ divided by F naught, where FE is the focal plane and Q is the position where the image is formed, divided by F naught. F naught is the focal length of the objective. Similarly, for eyepiece, theta E is equal to FEQ divided by FE. So these are the two equations, and you can put these two equations into equation 1. We'll get an expression for magnification like this, cancel whatever they cancel. It gives F naught by FE with minus sign. So this negative sign indicates that the image formed is an inverted image, inverted one. The final image formed is an inverted one, and the magnifying power of a telescope is just the ratio of the focal lengths of the objective and the eyepiece respectively. So therefore, the focal lengths of the objective and the eyepiece play a crucial role in the magnification of the image in this telescope. For a telescope focused at infinity, the magnifying power may be shown to be given by another definition for the magnification is capital M is equal to this is the diameter of the entrance pupil bar objective. It is actually diameter of the entrance pupil, which is objective here. That is denoted by capital D, and divided by diameter of the exit pupil. The exit pupil is here eyepiece. So that is denoted by small d. So this is the ratio. Take this as equation 3 and you can equate equation 2 and 3. You will get this kind of equation. It is minus f naught by f is equal to capital divided by small d. Using this equation, the some parameters of the telescope can be calculated. Then we'll see what is the resolving power. The angular separation between the two closely situated objects as per Ligg's criterion is given by delta theta is equal to 1.22 into lambda divided by d. So we have studied while studying the resolution of the two closely objects. The Rayleigh's criterion and the Rayleigh's criterion gives a limit for that separation of the two closely placed objects. So that is given by delta theta is equal to 1.22 into lambda divided by d, where d is the diameter of the objective. Then the resolving power is defined as the reciprocal of the limit of resolution. So thus the resolving power is equal to 1 divided by delta theta, and this is equal to capital D divided by 1.22 lambda. So therefore, from this equation, it is very clear that the resolving power, in order to increase the resolving power, we have to increase the diameter of the objective. So that is the R, decrease the wavelength. So this is the one way. Then we'll see what are the drawbacks or demerits of this refracting telescope. This refracting telescope, even though made successfully, but it is having a very large number of demerits or drawbacks, and we'll see them one by one. So the illumination decreases with the square of the objective focal length. To overcome this is the first problem. To overcome this problem, one has to use a larger diameter objective. But when the size of the object increases, weight of the lens also increases, leading to deformation in its shape due to gravity effects. So this is the one problem. So for the better resolution, we have to use the objectives of greater focal length. But once the focal length increases, some other problems also created. The second problem is that the material from which the lens is made should be free from defects. So while manufacturing or synthesizing of the material, the purity of the material is very important. If even the very small amount of defects are there in the material, that leads to lots of problem. So that is another problem. And both surfaces should be ground with great precision. So here the objective is made of a convex lens. It has two curved surfaces, and they should be grounded very perfectly. Otherwise, again the problem will be arised. The third problem is that the objective lens is thermally sensitive to surrounding. That means when it is exposed to longer time to the sunlight, can produce a small thermal expansion which affects some resolution or some alignment. This is another problem. Generally, the The telescopes are kept in an open space or over a heighted building, so where generally it is exposed to the sunlight. So quite naturally, the objective gets heated. Once it is gets heated, there can be some small thermal expansion, so that leads to problem. Next problem: the use of objective of longer focal length increases the size of the telescope tremendously. So, for better clarity or resolution, we have to use the objective of the longer focal length. But once the focal length of the objective increases, the size of the telescope also increases tremendously. This is another problem. Next problem is that it is about chromatic aberration. So the focal length of a lens is given by 1 by f is equal to mu minus 1 into 1 by r1 minus 1 by r2, and where mu is equal to Ri means refractive index, where mu is the refractive index of the lens, and R1 and R2 are the radii of curvature of the two surfaces. As mu, this refractive index depends upon the valence of the incident light. Different colors refract at different angles, leading to distortion in the clarity of the image. So this is called as the chromatic aberration, and this is the major problem of this telescope. Next drawback is spherical aberration. That means the rays near to the optic axis are converging slightly farther as compared to the peripheral rays. You can see here, these are the peripheral rays, but these are the rays which are near to the optic axis. So these rays which are near to the optic axis are converging here, whereas the peripheral rays, this one and this one, they converge here. So there is a gap between converging point of the peripheral rays and axial rays. So this problem is called as a spherical aberration, and sometimes this can also lead to some problems. And another problem is there called as the coma, and this coma problem is like this. Sometimes you might be felt this phenomena that when some light sources are seen through a glass or something else, this kind of uh, images are formed. A star type of images is formed there, and this is called as the coma effect. And the spherical lenses may produce a coma effect, and this effect is caused by abaxial rays. Abaxial rays means which are inclined to optic axis by some angle. So this is also a drawback. That means if all the rays are perfectly coaxial, or along the, or which are perfect or exactly parallel to the optic axis, then this coma effect will be not there. But generally what happens, some rays are abaxial. That means they are not parallel exactly to the to the optic axis. There is some inclination angle between the optic axis and these rays, so this leads to a coma effect. So these are the important drawbacks of the this refracting telescope. And most of these drawbacks of the refracting telescopes are eliminated by making use of an objective which is nothing but a convex mirror. We will see in the next class. Thank you for listening.